Hi, I'm Andrew Moore. We're broadcasting here from Studio 270. That's our teen center here at the Gale Public Library. This is another digital media lab, your library at home. Let's jump right into it. Today we're going to talk about how to program drums in Logic Pro. I'm going to go ahead and open up Logic, new session. So I'm going to start with software instrument, and we're going to use one of the built-in software drum sounds that are in here. This is through what's called MIDI. Basically, MIDI is when you press a key, it tells the computer or the interface, whatever you're working with, play this note at this velocity. All right, so if I were to play this keyboard, obviously without a computer attached, it doesn't make any noise, but because of MIDI, it's sending a signal to the interface, which in this case is Logic Pro software, to play those sounds. So I'm going to switch over to a drum kit. Just pick any one here. Now, because the keyboard is not the length of a full-size keyboard, the range of the instrument is spread across here, so you have to change octaves to get the whole range of the kit. So here's a kick drum sound, snare, alright, so that's the idea of it. You could play, I'm playing this right here with my fingers on the keyboard there. I'm gonna set the tempo, actually we'll leave it where it's at, 120. And we'll record a quick drum rhythm here. Here we go, get a 4 count. And I'm going to press the R key, which will start recording. 2, 3. Alright, so we got a quick little 4-bar loop there. Turn off the metronome. I could loop that if I want. You play it twice through, or however many times through. Alright, now maybe you played something and it sounds a little bit off to you. Maybe your timing was a little off. You could go in and highlight all these notes and quantize to whichever, this is the amount of, or I guess the precision of the quantization. So it could break it down to each 16th note, each 32nd note, single note. So like watch, if I do it just a single whole note, just puts everything on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back to 16. All the notes are back. So quantizing just makes sure that everything hits right on the grid, so nothing's off time. Sometimes I don't like to use the quantization because if you wanted to have an organic, real sound, there are little nuances like that. A lot of times, live musicians are a fraction of a second off, or give it that live feel by leaving it unquantized. But for the purposes of this, we're going to leave it quantized. So that's how you could just record it all in one shot. Now I'm going to mute that. Actually, I'm going to duplicate it first by pressing Command D. So now I got a new drum track. I'm going to mute the other one. I'm going to press Command K, which is going to pull up my musical typing again. And then I'm going to show you how I like to build drums using MIDI. I typically go one layer at a time so that I have more control over the mix. I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and record again. I'll start with just a kick. Alright, so now I got the kick. I'm going to go ahead and quantize those to a 16th note cadence. Alright, so I'm going to label that kick drum. Command D is going to duplicate the track. I'm going to make my snare on this track. I like the sound on that the S is making, so let's use that one. Alright, so now you put those together, you got a kick and a snare. Now, I could turn my snare down a bit. I'm going to pan it a little bit to the left. Right, so now you see I can control the sound of the whole drum pattern a little more. So I got a snare, I got a kick. Go ahead. I duplicated it so it's got those same settings. So if I didn't want that, I could have duplicated the kick drum. I'm going to make a hi-hat on this one. Command K, pull it up. Alright, cool. So I got a hi-hat sound. And really, we could mix up this drum kit so we don't have to use the same kit. So actually, let's try an electronic kit. I'm going to do an electronic sound here for the hi-hat. Alright, let's put the metronome back on. And there we go. Alright, so let's play that back. And I'm going to pan that a little more. I like to make my drums sound similar to how a drum kit would be set up. So typically you're going to have your hi-hat either to your left or your right. You're going to have the snare next to that. You're going to have your tom-tom drums spread across. So I try to mix my drums to sound like they're being played on an actual kit. So here's just a basic 4 bar pattern. And you could add as many layers to that as you want. If you want to add more percussion, you want to add another layer of cymbals. And then when you do have a pattern that you like, if you want it to just continue on going, you could hold Option as you have the tracks highlighted and just drag over. So now I got 8 bars instead of 4, and then if I want to loop that, I could move that over. Now you could also just pull the top corner and you could loop it, but if you loop it, I lose control to then go in and edit each one of these notes. You can only edit the notes on the source, the first bars of the loop, whereas if I copy and paste, now I could manually edit each one of those. So if I want to have some variance, so I'm not just playing the same exact drum pattern the whole time, maybe cut out a kick drum here and there, add one somewhere else, add a snare somewhere else. Alright, so there's the idea. That was using MIDI software instruments to create a drum pattern in Logic. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use samples instead of MIDI. So I'm going to start a new track. We won't save that one. This time I'm going to select audio instead of software instrument. And I'm going to be pulling from a library of drums that I already have actually. But if you don't, you could even use Apple Loops, which is loading right now because we just did an update. Everything's not downloaded. So I'm going to stick to what I was doing here. I'm going to go and find a folder I have called drums and such. Here we go. Alright. Let's see here. We'll go from this kit, CB to plug. So CB is a producer from Chicago. We have a mutual connection here, and he hooked me up with these drum sounds. So here you could select a kick sound that you like. Just go with that one here, 16. So now I've got my kick drum, and I want to turn on the tempo. And I'm going to loop it so that it's playing a 4-bar loop. So same way I showed the copy and paste by holding Alt and dragging it, I'm going to do that with this kick drum and move it into a cadence that I find interesting. So let's see. Alright, so there's one, and now you can't quantize when you're doing these audio files. So sometimes I'm kind of guessing and checking. I know what I want to hear, and then I'm just moving until I get to it. Alright, so I want to go about right here. Alright, now copy that. I want it to double, which I'm going to do. I know that the 3, it started on the 1. I know the next repeat's going to start on the 3. I know that just from experience and some studying of music theory, but if you don't know these types of things, you'll get it as you continue to produce and work on music. Alright, so to add a little more variance to it, I'm going to throw another kick on in front of the 3, so it's Alright, so now we got the kick pattern. Cool. Alright, now I'm going to go from a different kit and find a snare or a clap. Let's go with that one here. Alright, so same thing, I got my snare here, found the first placement that I want. I think I want the next one to just get right there, so we got 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Cool, so I like where those are at. I'm going to just go ahead and copy those 2, paste them over, same place, opposite side of the beat. It's a little too loud for my taste, so we're going to turn the snare down. I'm going to pan it a little bit because, like I said, I like it to feel like it's the placement of a real drum kit. Now let's add some hi-hat. I'll stick to the same kit here. I'm going to just search hat, and I know I'm going to let's go with this one, and I want this to have like a different feel to it, so I'm going to use 2 different hi-hat sounds that are in the same family. I'm going to turn one down a little more from the other. I want them to be double time, so alright, cool, so that's the style I'm looking for. Let's double it. I'll double that. Same thing. Look that. And a lot of times I'll just copy the same pattern and then add little variances once it's all copied and pasted in. So we got, call this hi-hat 1. Hi-hat accent. And let's add one more layer here. Let's add some 808 sounds to it. So I'm just going to search 808. cool. Let's throw that in there. Make it really. Put it on the 1. On the and of the next one. Alright, so I want to start this again on the 3, right? But you see if I do that, it's going to cross over. I have it set to crossfade automatically, but I don't want it to do that on this one because, here, I'll show you what it'll do. Let me solo this out. See how you didn't really catch the beginning of the second one here? Because it's faded out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to undo the copy and drag. I'm going to cut this file right on the 3 because I know that's where my next 808 is going to start. I'm going to hit Command T to chop this end off, cut it. But now if I leave it as is, there's going to be a pop at the end of the audio file. Hear that? That little clip sound. So we don't want that, so I'm going to fade out the audio file. So if I go again here to fade tool, then I just got to click this and I could pull that as long as I want. So now listen, the click should be gone. Alright, cool. So now I could go ahead and move another copy onto the 3 and get this sound that I want out of that. So here we go again. Cool. Alright, so that's pretty much the basics. This could get far more in depth than where we're at, but I didn't want to take too long, take too much of your time. This is going to get you started on how to program drums in Logic Pro. You could apply these same principles to GarageBand or Fruity Loops or any other digital audio workstation, and it's the same concepts, same ideas. So this has been how to program drums in Logic Pro. I'm Andrew Moore, and signing out from here in Studio 270.